Hi, you're watching Sexpertise, and I am your favorite host and sexpert, the Erica Rivera. On this episode, we're joined by Jessie Blaze, an artist and dancer from Jacksonville, Florida, whose work explores themes of womanhood, cultural identity, and self-empowerment. With a background in Puerto Rican and North African dance, Jessie Blaze's art draws from her own experience of love, loss, and healing, creating a powerful narrative of self-acceptance. So today we're going to discuss her journey and how it intersects with the fight for reproductive autonomy and women's rights. Let's welcome Jessie Blaze. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I know you asked me before and I said no, but now you asked me again and I said yes.
Yes, I wanted you here a lot sooner, but hey, stuff happens. You're here now
Yes, I am.
with a much more involved topic, actually. So,
Yes.
a very important one, especially post-election. Um, So let's get right to it. Last week, I had already kind of told everyone what we were going to talk about as far as autonomy, and I'm really grateful that you're here to kind of bring awareness to this topic. But I need to ask, in your experience or from conversations with friends, have you ever noticed? I know what the answer is going to be. Have you ever noticed the double standards around permanent birth control, specifically how it's harder for women to get tubal ligations compared to men seeking vasectomies? Like, what's your thought on this?
I mean, I've absolutely experienced it personally as well as my close family members like my sister and even other friends. We all have very similar stories. And then if you go online, you can see the stories from so many other women from all over the US about how hard it is for them to get that permanent contraception in their life. So it's, I don't really understand why men get it easier because a man can walk in at a younger age, say, hey, I want a vasectomy, and they say, okay, oh, you might have a regret, but okay, here, go have it. But as a woman, you go in, they give you so many, oh, what if your future husband that doesn't exist yet wants children? What, you're too young, or you don't have enough children. Like, one or two is not enough for you. Like, it's this constant battle and like waiting for someone to finally say, hey, like, I trust that you as an adult can make your own decisions for your life. So, yes, we're going to go ahead and perform the procedure because you know what is best for your life and what you want moving forward in your future.
Right. I mean, it should be treated like, to me, anything else. They tell you what the risks are, and once you sign on the dotted line, I mean, that's up to you to take those risks, not up to them, you know? Um, that's what I feel like. Their job really is to say, here are the risks, whether you're man or woman, but then that's it. There shouldn't be this this pushback of like, well, what about your future husband, this, that, the other. Now, you mentioned that you've seen this with like family and friends. Is there a particular situation maybe that a family member went through that you don't mind sharing with us?
Yeah, actually, my sister, she's my older sister, only by 4 years, not by much. And she went through the same thing that I'm going through right now. Her entire life, she knew she does not want children. It hasn't ever been a thing of, as an adult, she just always knew that this was the life she wanted for herself. So when she became around 23, she asked her OBGYN, like, hey, I would like to get my tubes tied because I don't want children and I don't want to take any risk of accidentally getting pregnant. They told her no. This was in Gainesville. They said, no, you're too young. You might regret it later and you might want children later. So later down the line, she started attending her graduate program
Mm.
in Satellite Beach and new OBGYN. Same thing. She's older now, right? She's 28, 29. Asked the same thing. Hey, I don't want children. I've This has been something I've decided my entire life. I'm very sure about it. And once again, she was confronted with, no, you're too young. You might change your mind. You haven't even reached your 30s yet. Yeah, it's like now it's like, so
What?
third
Oh,
time became a charm because what happened was she got a new doctor.
okay.
And she asked the woman, like, hey, like, this is something that I definitely want. And she did this immediately after the Roe versus Wade got overturned. She went to the doctor like, hey, I'm very serious about this. I've asked 2 times already with 2 different doctors. I do not want to have children, and I don't want to get pregnant
By
accidentally and
accident,
be
yeah.
put in a compromising situation to where I'm forced to have a child I do not want. And the doctor once again said, oh, but like, what if your husband changes your mind? First off, who cares what the husband thinks? Okay, it's my body. I do what I want.
Right. You
If
don't
he
even know if you're gonna have a
if
husband.
he's so
Like,
concerned about it, he can go adopt. I don't know what to tell you. Get another wife. But the thing is, her husband also is on the same boat. He also doesn't want kids, right?
oh, so she's married now.
She's been married the entire time.
And he also didn't want kids.
He also does not want kids. But apparently, everyone might change. His mind might change. His mind might change. So therefore, her mind might change. And she's like, look, if the thing is, she goes, my husband wants the same thing I want, and if he doesn't want the same things I want, then he's not for me. I'm not making my life decisions based on what another person wants for me. If he later wants kids, then we're not together. Then it's not the person for me.
But as a doctor, that's again, I don't feel like that's your job. Like your job is to, of course, explain the risks. If you had this procedure, these are the consequences of said procedure. If you're okay with that, who are you to tell the patient no, like otherwise? Like, you know what I mean? And it's really weird that they the husband might change his mind. Like that doesn't sit
There's
right with me.
like this obsession with breeding. I
Yeah.
don't know. I think everyone
Yeah.
has a breeding kink at this point.
Yeah, yeah. No, you can say breeding kink, it's fine. But it's like it's crazy to me like to even do that because now it's kind of that's selfish. It's selfish to have children knowing that you don't want children. That's selfish. Like I'm someone who also doesn't want kids. I don't want them, and there has been so many people in my life who have told me like oh that may change down the road or what, dude. Like now I'm 37 years old. I know I don't want freaking kids, dude. I don't want them. Like I like kids. I know I had to pause for
It
like
feels
what
like
was
I've
that?
been around you.
Yeah, I can,
I feel
I
the
can be
stress.
around kids. But like I don't want to raise children. And some people used to think that that was selfish of me. But I actually think the opposite. I think it's selfish if I were to have children because society expects me to. Because I know for a fact that if I had kids that I did not want, I wouldn't be giving them the love and the attention that they should get. And I feel like that is selfish. I'm doing something, I think, selfless by making sure I don't have kids because I know that I would not give them the care that they should have. And I feel like your sister would feel the same way. She's like, I don't want to get pregnant accidentally and have a child I don't want. Like, that's how not to call your sister or myself this or anything, but I feel like that's how abusive households start. Resentment, people that maybe didn't want to have kids and had kids and now they resent them because, certain things that they wanted to achieve in life didn't happen. Like, you're causing a whole slew of problems by not just allowing us to have permanent birth control.
I mean, I think on my end that people who choose not to have kids did all the thinking. We don't just come to this conclusion of just like, oh, I don't feel like, no. I thought about all the pros and cons, all the factors in my life and what I actually desire for myself and also what my emotional bandwidth is
Mm-hmm.
in regards to children and raising something because having a human child. It's not like having a dog. Like it's up to 13
It's
years
not
and
a
you're like,
pet.
okay, It's a lifetime. It doesn't grow 18 and then you're not responsible for any. No, I see my parents, they're still responsible for me. Like, it's a
You're like,
lifetime.
this is lifelong.
This is a lifelong commitment,
It is.
and if I think if more people put that same level of thought into their life choices, then a lot more people will probably be like, hey, like this is a huge commitment. Let me take my time with this. Let me not get pregnant so young.
Yeah.
Let me, or maybe I shouldn't have kids. I
Right.
think a lot more, like you said, abusive households would be a lot less. And also just like, even if they're not like physically abusive, like we see so many people, adults my age that grew up, like my parents weren't as active as I wanted them to be. They weren't as like strict or as this or that, or they were just like acting like my best friends. Like a lot of thought has to go into what it takes to raise a human being to be a productive and good member of our society.
Right. Right.
And I think a lot of the times, I think all humans in nature a lot of times have like a selfish desire to a certain degree. Even like, yes, I'm not afraid to say it. Me not wanting having kids is for myself, and it's okay if it's selfish. Okay, I'm selfish. I'm fine with that because like, what do you
Even
want me
though,
to
like I
do? Bring a
said,
kid into this world and not
even
like it? Like,
yeah, even though,
so
like I said, I don't think it's a selfish decision. But yeah, if it's what's best for me and my lifestyle,
if you want to view me that way,
you want to view, yeah,
sure,
yeah,
fine. I'm okay with it.
I'm whatever you want me to be.
Yeah, I'm okay. Call me whatever you want. I'm fine. And in the same token, sometimes I view people who do decide to have kids as selfish sometimes because in my eyes, I'm like, well, that child is technically not asking to be born. You are making that decision for it to exist in this world. So therefore, you should be responsible for it. That's your decision. It's not selfless if you're choosing to have it. It's your responsibility.
Yeah, yeah,
And most of the times, that selflessness isn't extending to all kids in the world. It's specifically your direct kid that you are sacrificing things for.
yeah,
So it's like this idea of like motherhood being the selfless act. Like I have more respect to someone saying like, look, I just want to have a kid because I want to have a kid. I'm like, yo, good for you.
yeah,
Like I think like it's so interesting looking at like the statistics of women who choose to have permanent contraception versus women who choose to have kids. There's a lot more regret in having a kid than not.
then not. Just look at the numbers, you guys.
So it's just like, and not saying that you don't love your kid. You
Right,
can have,
right.
you still do love it, but doesn't mean you don't have like some regret of like, man, like I love them, but that's not necessarily what I would have wanted for my life in the future.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was talking about with like resentment. I've met parents that kind of resented their children later on because they're like, I didn't get to do this, or I didn't get to achieve a certain goal because this kind of got in the way. And like, for those of you who are listening that have kids, we're not saying we're anti-kids. Like, if you want to have
No,
kids, like, again, more power to you, and we commend you for that. But today we're
just don't.
specifically,
My
yeah,
choice.
yeah, but it
Do
is
whatever
our
you want.
individual
But
choice.
for me, this is
Yeah,
my choice, and these
yeah,
are the reasons why I come to them.
yeah,
It's not for me. I like kids, I do.
yeah.
I'm not even opposed to like being a stepmom or like adopting maybe in the future, but I don't want to physically
Have a child.
utilize my body
Yeah.
in that way.
And no one should force you to. And that's the thing is like many women, just like your sister, face that significant pushback from doctors when they're requesting that birth control. How does that make you feel about like our healthcare system as a whole? Like,
I think our healthcare system, I don't know, because like I do know our country has these things called like the church amendments or whatever, and they have like the conscious rights. If you don't really know what that means, pretty much healthcare providers can deny um, care
yeah,
if it goes against like their religious beliefs or they feel like an action against their religious beliefs. So if examples is like a pharmacist can't deny giving you birth control or antidepressants or deny giving cancer treatment if you're
Women
pregnant because it might
basically
harm the
can,
pregnancy.
they can
And
pick and choose who they want to help.
it's really interesting that these laws mostly affect women and like LGBTQ community. It doesn't really affect the male population. So I just feel like I guess I think society has a breeding king. I don't know what to say. I really do think that.
Society has a breeding king. That should be the name
do.
of this episode.
Episode. I really do think they do. And they're like obsessed with how women choose to live their lives and use their bodies. And I'm just like, why are you so obsessed with me?
Cue music. Well, I was gonna say too, so like, did your sister eventually get tubal
She
ligation?
did. So she straight up
Oh,
told her doctor that, and she told her doctor, look, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to keep trying until I find someone who does. And the doctor was like, heard her. She's like, okay, like I understand. I hear you. And
yeah,
she performed it. It was such an easy procedure. They do it, the way they do it now is through like burning, like cinching.
yeah, yeah.
The, so it's not like this in-depth procedure. They're not cutting you open like that. It's not like that at all. It's like they burn it. You're out the same day.
But that's the thing. That's the excuse. Like if you do like a basic Google search, that's the excuse you'll see on a search is like, oh, well, vasectomies are better because the tubal ligation is too invasive. It has longer recovery times. Like it's almost like there's articles that are written just to scare you out of it. And I find that pretty disappointing too.
Well, I think those articles, those journalists need to do their research because there's new procedures out there. And it's really, she was out the same day. She was in and out the same day. And she was only down for like maybe 2 days. Not even down. Like she just couldn't, because my sister's extremely active. She like
Yeah, yeah.
surfs, rides horses, like does all that stuff. So basically, she just couldn't do that stuff, but she could still do everything else every day. Like she wasn't like down on the bed.
Right, right. But
Yeah,
a couple of days, that's worth it.
yeah, exactly. Like she was like, oh, down a couple of days or have a child for a whole my
But
life.
it's crazy that she had
Decision.
to go through such extent during X amount of years in order to get such a simple procedure. And like you said, it's not like women just decide one day they wake up and they're like, I don't want kids. No, like we've been thinking about this probably since we were kids because we're fed Disney movies and Barbie dolls and like all these things revolving around family life and us being like in the kitchen and taking care of children. We've thought this through. If we are in our 20s and 30s and have said we don't want kids,
I
we
would
know
even
it.
go as far as to say, outside of like movies and books and fairy tales, girls are given a higher level of responsibility at a younger age than boys. So from a young age, some of us are raising our siblings
Yeah,
or being more responsible with everyday tasks, doing more chores. A lot of the times, this is not a blanket statement. I'm not saying all,
right.
but a lot of times the women are having to do all those household chores. Like I think of like a close friend growing up, she had to do everything in the house and all her brother had to do was take out the trash once a week. That's it. So like a lot of women are taught from a young age to have this level of responsibility, given baby dolls, start raising a baby
It's okay.
now, today, a little baby doll today. And it's just like, and because I was given all this stuff at a young age, I was like, I don't want to do
Yeah,
this
we already know.
for the rest of my life. I'm good. I'm Gucci. Some people do that and they feel fulfillment with that. Good for you. I did not feel that fulfillment at all.
Yeah.
When you gave me that baby doll, I was like, ugh, no, thank
Uh,
you.
you remember, I don't know if they did this at your school. Do you remember the egg that you had to carry around?
I actually had like a mechanical baby doll, like one of
Oh my
those like
God, what?
they have those like dolls that are for teaching mothers or something like how it is to have a baby and
Yeah.
like it cries, it's like on a timer. So I actually had one of those. It was a great and it came out for grading of like how good of a mother I would be. I think I failed. Like it's so bad. Yeah, I would cry
I
in
would
the
have
middle of the
failed
night.
too, don't
I think,
worry.
well, I'll probably lie. At 13, I was like, no, I need my sleep. This is not for me. I can't handle it. No.
Yeah, you had it worse than I did. I moved to Florida from Massachusetts my sophomore year of high school, and I moved to Jacksonville actually, and I think it was Forest High School in Jacksonville. We had eggs like during our home ec class that also served as sort of sex health. You were given like an egg in a little basket, and you couldn't like you had to take care of it like it was a baby because it was an egg, I guess. And
I probably, if I would have done that, I'd probably been like, oh, have your kids easy.
yeah, but I still didn't want to. I have to be responsible for this egg not breaking while I have my life. I'm okay. But you
I
had it
just put it on a shelf somewhere and call it.
worse. Yeah, that's great parenting. Just put your child on a shelf. But point is, yeah, we knew. It's like we were put through certain situations growing up that kind of helped us decide whether or not we wanted this for our lives. So it is kind of silly to have that like extra test when you go see a doctor and then they're asking you like, "Well, are you sure?" Like, dude, I've been thinking about this for 2 decades. I'm 100% sure. And I was gonna say too, there's a perception that society tends to infantilize women when it comes to reproductive decisions, assuming that we're not capable of making choices for ourselves, which is crazy because, like you said, they give us so many responsibilities. Like, they make us grow up really fast, but then they talk to us like we're children.
They trust us to raise a human, but not make my own decisions. Like, make it make sense.
Right, make it make
Make
sense.
it make sense. Like, I just, I think it goes along with, I think that also goes with, like, I think society as a whole, and it's just outside of health, like women to be seen kind of like um smaller than what they need to be. Almost like childlike when they say, oh, your husband needs to lead you and you need to follow, or, all the stuff. It's like, I've grown as adult. I know how, sometimes honestly, I know sometimes more than some of the guys I'm dating. And it's like, and you
Yeah,
can
I
see all,
mean,
they know some things. I know more sometimes. And it's just like, I don't need, like, what does that even mean? Lead,
that's the
follow?
thing.
Like, what is,
It shouldn't be a gender
it shouldn't
thing.
be the,
I
I
might
shouldn't,
be Yeah, I may know more than he does. He may know more than I do. Like, we're just two human beings that may be smarter than one another, like, or whatever.
mm-hmm.
But, like, the whole, like, infantilizing us when it comes to those kinds of decisions is really just crazy to me because you want me to carry a child, but you're treating me like a child. It, yeah. Do you get what I'm saying?
I
Like,
feel like at some point, for some reason, society doesn't really hold the mother or the icon, like the symbolism, the iconography of a mother as like the highest status symbol. Like, you're not making it in life
right.
until you have a family and a child. So you could have all these accomplishments, and you see it all the time. Someone's like, I got my PhD, and you get like 1 or 2 likes. Someone posts this, I'm pregnant, blows up. Congratulations, congratulations. I was like, oh, congratulations. I'm like, no. But whatever, like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Well,
pretty much like how much, like,
that
I mean, like,
reminds
good
me.
for you. I'm glad you made this, like, a
Yeah,
very
you made that
exciting time.
choice. Can we
But
celebrate the fact that we don't have kids?
yeah,
Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, for instance, the idea that women, like, there's this stereotype and expectation that women should want children or that their primary role is to be a mother. And that gets like celebrated widely. I feel like those stereotypes affects our reproductive policies and our access to choice. And just to piggyback off of what you said before I get your thought on that, we were talking about like baby showers. We celebrate like someone's pregnant. It's like, oh my God, yay. Like, let's spend all this money to like help this person start a family. And it's like, okay, but what about us, childless people who like start businesses and, we're the CEOs of our own companies. Like, can I get some money to get some like to get a copy machine? Like,
like,
like
can you send me some notepads? Can you send me
some
some pens?
notepads would be nice.
Or even like, oh, if I, like, as a woman, working really hard. I buy my own house. Like, help me fill up that house with some things.
Yeah, I feel like
Like,
housewarmings get celebrated more when it is a family that is moving into a new home versus like a single childless woman. So yeah, that just
like I got a new cat recently, and not to like play into this childless cat lady, but I also have dogs.
yeah,
But but I didn't have any cat stuff. I needed cat stuff.
yeah.
But
But
where
those
was
same
my
things,
cat shower at? Where's
yeah. No, and I wonder the same stuff, but in all seriousness, those types of achievements don't get looked at as achievements really in life. Like,
and I just want to say for people who do have kids, I understand that baby supplies and things
yes,
are expensive. Like, I'm just joking. I'm just making jokes. I
yes, we are
respect
making light.
all women, all their decisions. Like, I do know. I only say this because I know having a child is a huge responsibility and it's very expensive. And this is a decision I make for myself. But I understand when someone makes that decision for them, it is a huge responsibility and it's very expensive. So that's why my friends that do have kids, I'm the first one to send them money. I am, because I'm like, it's expensive. Whenever I am going to a baby shower, I buy something for the mother.
Same.
Like, you're the one who's doing the whole thing. Like, here is a nice, comfortable pajama for you to wear the night of or whatever, day of, whatever it happens. Enjoy. Here's a candle. Light it up in the
Yeah.
hospital room. Relax.
Yeah,
Because,
we're not like, hopefully it is coming across that we're not like anti-moms. We just,
yeah,
we're talking about the fact that we're pro-choice, and
yeah.
pro-choice means that you are free to choose, whether that is choosing to have kids or choosing not to have kids.
And just
And
don't impede on my choice.
right, correct. We both have people in our lives that are moms that we respect and that we, like you said, take care of. We're gonna spoil you if we can, that sort of thing. But, it's not commonly spoken about the fact that we don't have, oh,
The emotion
look at
sensitive.
that.
You still see me though, right?
Yeah, I can still see
Okay.
it. I mean, do you have to like wave it on?
Yes, I do. There you
There we go.
go.
Yeah, we're just saying that we don't talk enough about some of those women that maybe have chosen not to have kids, and what are we doing to make them feel appreciated as well. I think everyone deserves to be appreciated for whatever it is that they are achieving in life, whether it is motherhood, whether it is a new business, and talking about reproductive autonomy specifically. Today we're focusing on permanent birth control because we noticed that that's an area where we really do get a lot of pushback. There's a like Jessie said, talking about, what if your husband changes your mind, you're too young, well, what if you decide you want more children? Because this also applies to people that may have a child already but then can't get their tubes tied because their doctor thinks they may want a second or third. I mean, that's kind of a slap in the face. You already had one. You don't want a second, and your doctor's like, well, we'd like to keep the factory open just in case.
And there were cases sometimes where they did not deny giving your tubes tied because the children you have had aren't a specific gender. For example, they will say, well, you haven't had a boy yet. Maybe you will want to try for a boy later on. I'm like, aren't we not living in the day and age where like you have to have a male heir anymore? Like, can I just keep it going?
Yeah, and that's the problem is these stereotypes definitely affect our reproductive policies, and our access. And with this current election, some people are really worried that we're only going to go more backwards. So that brings me to my next question. If you could make one change to the healthcare system in order to support women's reproductive autonomy, what would it be? Like, what kind of policies or attitudes do you want to see change?
Well, I would honestly want more healthcare providers to remove their biases from healthcare. Like, my body, my what's good for me isn't based on your religion. Like, you go into a doctor to help people, but you're supposed to help me physically, not like spiritually. Like, I'm not worried about saving my own soul, so you shouldn't be either. Sorry.
That's great.
um, also, like when we have these, because going back, talking about last week's episode, we were talking about the clinics being shut down.
Yes.
Enough of that. Stop shutting down the few resources that we do have that provide these unbiased, funded clinics that give healthcare beyond just abortions. They do IUDs. They
Yeah.
do getting your tubes tied. They also do breast mammograms, which is for breast cancer screening. They do all these things for women's health that seems to constantly be overlooked.
Yeah.
And I think a good portion of it also is because, for one, so many people are so unaware of women's health. I have this book. If none of you have read it, read it. I could let you borrow it. It's called The Sweetness of Venus. And it's about the history of women's health, specifically like our reproductive parts, and how even for the longest time they believed women parts or reproductive parts were the same as men but just inverted. So they're making all of our health decisions based on men's health. Now think about like how long it's been that way and just how recently they're starting to study and be like, oh, like women's bodies have some differences and they have to be approached in a different way. Like just recently they're giving out anesthetics for IUDs because they didn't believe that it was painful.
Right, right.
I guess like
I think that we need a book club episode on this book, like, because
mm,
that's wild. Um, and like you said, a lot of these, in my last episode I mentioned so many clinics that were being shut down. You know, many got shut down between like 2015 and 2020. And you mentioned like cancer screenings. Like people just focus so much on the abortion, like the actual abortion type procedure, but forget that abortion care encompasses so many other services that are essential to our communities. So I agree with you that we need to stop shutting down some of those clinics that offer those services, especially to marginalized communities. You know, they're usually the clinics are there in place for those who might be low income or in a marginalized community.
just like a lot of schools, cause if you follow the education system right now, a lot of federal funding is going towards private education versus public education. I
Yeah.
feel the same thing's happening within healthcare. A lot of our funding is going to private health institution, private hospitals versus like public clinics, public hospitals. And it's because of that, these private health hospitals are run by churches,
Yeah. Yeah.
and therefore they can push their Church Amendment
Right.
conscious rights to
Right.
deny you care.
Yeah.
So if we can focus more so on having these clinics getting the federal funding, still receiving that federal funding, not being closed down, because in a lot of these, especially rural areas, their clinics, or their hospitals are going to be like these private religious based for-profit hospitals. And I get it, for profit is very like, oh, like we have the best care because we receive more money, whatever. But but like our tax paying money should go to our nonprofit or federally owned hospitals that provide that care regardless of your religious affiliation.
Right, right. And it's crazy. I mentioned this in my last episode, and I think it's worth mentioning now. And I may mention it again next episode because November, we're really focusing a lot on women's health. But I want our listeners to know too, I'm a Christian. Like, you may listen to me and think I'm not, but I am. Like, I'm a Christian who goes to church every Sunday. I may have different religious or spiritual views than Jessie does, but we both think similarly when it comes to pro-choice. And let me tell you why. I never understood the division between pro-life and pro-choice because I feel like everyone should have the right to choose according to whatever faith they have. So bringing back Jessie's point from earlier that perhaps a doctor may not want to do a particular procedure because of their faith. Okay, but it's not up to him to convert the patient. The patient may have their own faith, their own religion, or their own spiritual journey that may not have anything to do with the doctor. And it's like, why are we being forced to do things according to someone else's faith or someone else's religion? I don't think that's okay. And there might be Christians out there that disagree with me, but that's my take on it. You know, I am not going to push what I would do onto someone else, you know?
And if you're an institution that doesn't want to do it for whatever reason, fine. But don't shut down the businesses and the clinics and the healthcare providers that are providing me that service.
Yeah, basically
You're
punishing them.
you're punishing them and you're making the decision for me, which I honestly, pro-life is just anti-choice. Let's be real. Because if you're pro-choice, you just choose. Like, it's your right to choose. If you're
Right.
denying my right to choose, that means you are against my choice.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
not me being pro-choice does not mean I'm anti-life. No.
Right.
Do all the things. Have all the babies. And that's why you're at it. Let's take care of the babies that are already here. Let's do
Yeah.
that. If you really want to be like, oh, pro-lifey, like, hello, we have so many children that need homes, that need food. Sorry, someone's saying bye.
Well, that's the thing is I don't think that term should exist because everything that we're doing is pro-choice. Like you're deciding according to what you believe. And if that is to never have an abortion, then awesome. But like some
Yeah.
of us may need that service,
My
you
choice
know?
to never have an abortion is to have a tube type.
Right. Right.
No, so like
Right. We want to avoid.
let me do what I have to do to avoid that. Like,
Yeah.
if you want me to not do that, then let me do what I need to do
Yes.
to not do that. Like,
And
don't be hard.
we definitely need a part two. We've gone over on time, but I do want to say
Sorry.
that I do no, it's fine. I agree with you. I think that, you know, nine times out of 10, if a woman decides to have an abortion, it wasn't on a whim. These are informed decisions that we make. We don't use it as birth control. We're not like, oh, well, I'm just gonna fuck around and, you know, see what happens and then I'll get an abortion. Who cares? No. 9 times out of 10, that's not how it works. And a lot of us, like Jessie and I, are trying to get permanent birth control so that we can avoid having abortions and avoid having that situation.
And I want to make it clear, having your tubes tied, you can still get pregnant.
True.
And if you're still doing everything impossible to avoid getting pregnant and you still get pregnant, I should have the option to not keep
Right.
it, because you want to keep in mind when you get your tubes tied, if you do get pregnant, you're more likely to get an ectopic pregnancy, and it's more life-threatening.
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot of medical issues that come with that for sure.
I would like to have my choice. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
That's it.
absolutely. The medical aspect is really important too, is there's more risk. You know, if you get pregnant while on birth control, there's definitely riskier situations that you could be in that may force you to get an abortion if that is what's medically sound for your situation. So also a great point. So I hope this was educational for everyone. Please follow Jasenia Dance on Instagram, also known as our wonderful Jessie Blaze. Hopefully you guys enjoyed her because we definitely need her back. This conversation could have been easily an hour or two long. But we always, you know, I tend to interview a lot of experts on here. But sometimes it's cool just to have someone else join in on the chat and give their opinion, their perspective, because we want to make this show relatable. So again, follow Jessie Blaze. And next week, I will be interviewing Adam Morley, who ran for our state representative for District 19. And we're going to hear his take on some of these policies, being that he is a politician. So stay tuned for that. And please make sure to stay informed, stay curious, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Jessie.